We're live. All right. Let's wait here for a few more seconds. I got to go live on the Insta. All these buttons that I have to push. Okay, here comes the intro, Jenny.
All right.
Let's try that again. Here comes the intro, Jenny.
All right.
You're listening to the Grow Clinton podcast. Grow Clinton is a 501c6 nonprofit economic, community development, and tourism organization based in Clinton, Iowa. For more information, visit growclinton.com. Again, that's growclinton.com. Now, back to the show. What's happening, all you amazing people out there in podcast land listening to the Grow Clinton podcast? That's right, folks. Episode 119, recorded on this 20th day of May, 2025. As always, I am your host, Andy Sokolovich, President and CEO of Grow Clinton. Just like the intro said, we are a nonprofit organization focused on community, economic development, and tourism. Joined in the studio by Jenny Home. As always, Jenny, what's happening?
Nothing. Oh, well, actually, stuff. Lots of great stuff. Today, I had the pleasure of going down to Park Vista Living Center down in Comanche and a potential new member. I'm so excited.
Excellent.
I walked in there and it was lunchtime. It smelled like my mom was there baking and cooking. It was beautiful. And it was like, it just was so comforting.
Yeah, that's
great.
Loved
it.
No, love that organization down there.
So I'm really
Park
excited.
Love it. This morning, in fact, I had the opportunity to take a group of the Grow Clinton Leadership Institute students on a community bus tour.
The future.
I look forward to this every single year. These are professionals already ingrained in the workforce. They complete what's called the Leadership Institute that we host every single year, comprised of about 15 to 20 students. And we just get in a city bus, and we drive around town and we talk about the cool things that are happening, both in the downtown district, specifically commercial, some residential. And then we go out to the Lions Business and Technology Park. And then we go out to the Lincoln Way Industrial Rail and Air Park. And then we actually have the opportunity to tour the Clinton Municipal Airport.
I love that place.
And our good friend, John Eitz, Colonel, as I call him, because he is a retired full bird colonel from the United States Marine Corps.
Great guy.
He owns Flight Deck Aviation, which partners with the airport to provide a flight school. But he was there. And, 20 plus years in the United States Marine Corps, the guy knows a lot about leadership.
Oh, yeah.
So not only we talk about the capabilities of the airport and how large of an economic impact it makes within the region, but John was there and actually opened up his planes that he has for the flight school, allowed the students to go through them, sit in the cockpit. And then he had some words of wisdom regarding aspiring leaders and some lessons that he had learned. So one of his things he did in the Marine Corps when he was advanced as a high-ranking officer, he had to kind of oversee like the manpower, really to identify the culture of the branch of the military and what motivates people, because a lot of times in the military, you just expect people to join out of pure patriotism and want to serve their country. But at the end of the day, it's still individuals with different emotions and things like that. So the military, just like the workplace, is also changing the way they do business. So he had some great things to say.
You can tell he's a great leader because he won't tell you his rank. He doesn't talk about that. He's just a very nice man.
No, I got to drag it out of him because he said, I said, what did you do in the service? Why? I'm a Marine.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I'll tell you.
For the first nearly decade of his career, he flew Prowlers, which are a radar jamming style aircraft that goes in before everybody else does at a very high altitude in and out. And that's pretty cool.
Yes.
So he's a great guy. But
cool dude.
You know what else is cool?
What?
Well, high-speed fiber internet, Jenny. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
We would not be able to record the Grow Clinton podcast without being powered by Miles Communications, offering us high-speed fiber internet. All of your home and commercial internet needs can be met by calling Miles Telephone at milestelephone.com. Again, milestelephone.com, also offering television and telephone services. Thank you, Miles Communications. Great guest today, Jenny.
Yes, and information from our guest that's going to be very important to everybody because it has something to do with almost everybody we know.
Love it, hate it, need it.
Don't understand it.
You have to have it. And if you ever bumped into somebody that doesn't have it,
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, how do you function?
Right.
We're talking insurance.
That's right.
Specifically with Luke Duenser
Right.
of the Hausmann Group. We're going to learn all about the Hausmann Group, what Luke does within that organization, and he'll share some insights regarding insurance costs that are rising, unfortunately, and also some opportunities for efficiencies moving forward. So, Luke, thank you so much for joining us on the Grow Clinton podcast.
Well, it's great to be here. I'm so excited. I've watched several of these, and I know this has been a huge opportunity to share about Clinton. So,
yeah, I mean, you've heard of the Joe Rogan podcast or Joe Rogan Experience.
Kind
We're
of.
like on the same playing field.
Oh, I believe it.
Just better.
I believe it.
Just better.
So, Luke, tell us a little bit about the Hausmann Group. And first of all, thank you for your continued investment in our organization. But what is it that you do at the Hausmann Group, and how can we benefit from learning more about the organization?
Sure. So the Hausmann Group is a full service brokerage, which is not uncommon in Northeast Iowa.
Mhm.
We do property casualty, work comp, home and auto, personal lines, and all that fun stuff. But I specifically am on the employee benefit side
Oh, boy.
and work with employers to help them with their employee benefits, from health and welfare plans like medical, life, dental, disability, those type of things.
This stuff scares me because I don't understand it. So it's always great to have,
you don't understand it until you need it.
Until you need it. I don't think about it until
and then
I
you're
need
so
it.
glad that you actually have it.
And most people don't understand.
Yeah. Well, and I just told you before we went on, my dad was insurance and he would explain things to me and I'd just be going, I don't get it. So it's so great to have the professional who knows what they're doing. Otherwise you're sunk.
It's very complicated. And sometimes I think people do that on purpose. So
now the Hausmann Group is headquartered out of Wisconsin.
Yeah, we're headquartered out of Madison. We have an office there as well.
Love Madison, by the way. Just love it.
In Pewaukee, Wisconsin as well. So outside Milwaukee. And then I am the Dubuque, Iowa office that handles up and down the river here.
So how does a young man from Dubuque get into the insurance biz?
Well, actually, I graduated. I was telling Jenny that I graduated with a teaching degree from Simpson College. And after 2 years, I became a teaching statistic, so to speak.
Yeah, wasn't for you.
It wasn't for me long term. And from there, I had a friend, close personal friend, that said, hey, if you want to give this a shot, I'd love to try to mentor you. So,
how long have you been doing this?
20 years this August.
Holy crap.
20 years.
I was expecting him to say like 5.
I know.
Yeah, 20
5.
years. Wow. So you are definitely a subject matter expert. Once you have 20 years, you can say yes.
Yes.
Dude, there's not.
No, about that. Well, thank you.
We're all of us, regardless of how long we've been in our career field, are aspiring to learn more and always opportunities to become more effective.
Always.
However, I think 20 years gives you some street cred.
That's right.
So what is it about insurance after 20 years that you've seen has been the biggest change?
I would say the biggest change is that because costs are just ever increasing, we all know this. Everybody's health insurance premiums go up every year. The deductibles are getting higher and higher. So we're paying more for less.
Yeah.
And so the biggest change right now is employers are desperately trying to figure out, how do I control these costs?
Yeah. How do you control the cost? I mean, it's a benefit. I mean, we offer here at Crow Clinton 80% of the cost for the direct employee as well as their dependents. And I feel like that's fair, and that's attracting new people to the organization. But the costs every year, like you said, go up and up and up. So how do employers pivot? What steps can they take to ensure they can continue to offer that benefit to support their employees, but also be able to afford to do so long term?
Sure. Well, let me first respond to that. Your 80% premium, not too many people do that anymore.
Yeah.
That's becoming less and less. So anybody looking to apply here, that's a pretty good benefit.
Okay.
I think employers are looking at more alternatives from a funding. I think most groups view it as, hey, we just go to the insurance carrier and get what's called a fully insured product. You just pay the premiums, and whether you have claims or not, that's what you pay.
That's what you pay.
That's what you pay. More employers and smaller employers are looking at ways to do what's called self-funding or transfer a little risk, whether it's a small dollar amount or a very large dollar amount. So they're looking to take on some risk so they have more control, because the last 5 to 6 years, they've probably been shopping and gone to different carriers,
Mm-hmm.
Walmart, United Healthcare,
Yeah.
Medical Associates, Health Choices, those type of things. But they end up in the same place they were a couple of years ago. It just
Right.
delayed it. So they just
Right.
kicked the can. So they're
Mhm.
trying to figure out a way to actually address that cost and change behavior.
How do you address those frustrations when you speak to your clients? How do you address that? And where do you start? I mean, what do you tell them?
Well, first I let them rant.
Rant and rave?
Yeah.
I let them vent.
Vent.
Because it is so frustrating.
Yes.
But when we're talking about it, it's all about education. So while I'm not a teacher any longer, I think that does come in handy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so it's all about education and helping people understand what their options are
Mm-hmm.
and what their options are not, and what are the consequences of those decisions, and helping people make those. Because just because somebody can save some money on something, that may not be the best choice, because the value of that line of coverage may be significantly decreased in the lower premiums, but at the same time, you may not be able to attract and retain an employee either. So
yeah, especially the deductibles through the roof. I mean, that's what I look at. Is I'd rather spend more as an organization ensuring that we have a quality plan and a deductible that can easily be met by the individual. Because it's just the worst thing I feel like is if you get injured, whether it's involved in the workplace or it's outside of the duty day, and you need health care and you require that health care to get better, we want you to come back, but we want you to be able to afford the costs associated with that health care.
And just, I mean, think of the catastrophic, I don't want to, but catastrophes happen and nobody's expecting them, so you've got to have that backup plan. It's not smart to live like that if you don't. I mean,
now, do you think premiums are getting or higher because naturally as human beings we tend to live longer?
that's, I don't think I think it's part of it, actually, because when you look at the group that's being underwritten or how the rates are set, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get all nerdy on you there, but when but when it happens, we are living longer, people are staying on the plan longer. Candidly, we as humans may not have the best lifestyle decisions sometimes.
Sure.
We also don't really understand how to find the cheapest care or best care. I mean, healthcare is one of the few things in life where we go in, get the service done, and then we find out the price.
Yes.
It's absolutely, for lack of a better term, asinine.
Yeah.
Well,
especially if there's like
it is.
emergency transport, like a medevac, aerovac, ambulance. That adds up.
I had no idea how much that.
Very expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't know that they can shop for the for a service, because they just think, well, this is where my primary care physician is. But they're not all created equal, and they don't all charge the same.
Oh.
So that's part of it. But we do a much better job as a society shopping for an oil change or a haircut than we do for a provider. You just
go in thinking this is how it is, and that's it. And I would have never considered shopping for it.
And that's not to say that all providers are bad. It's just how there's so much going on behind the scenes that we as the day-to-day people don't know. There's contracting, there's reimbursements, and how a doctor's paid, and it's very, very complicated. And
when you're in a situation where you need to use your benefits like that, you don't want to think about that kind of stuff. You want to have the professionals think about that, because you're all concerned about your own health, advocating for yourself that way. But if you have a plan in place, that's a lot more, comfort in a situation that's bad already. Yeah,
employers are getting more proactive about communicating. When I started, it was, hey, we have health insurance, come work for us. Now it's, we have health insurance, and these are the things, these are all the added benefits. These are ways to control costs, whether it's telehealth, virtually or over the phone. I mean, you can see a counselor now virtually.
Right.
You can see dermatologists now virtually. So I think those things are all adding. And as those value adds are coming in, kind of back to your statement earlier, Andy, that's one of the reasons that costs are increasing, because we're trying to figure out how to attract, I shouldn't say we, the insurance companies are trying to figure out how to attract lives and businesses. So they're trying to add values, but the consequence of that is, hey, we've got to pay for it somehow.
Right.
So the
Right.
premium goes up.
Yeah. Interesting. What sets the Hausmann Group apart?
I think the simplest way to put it is we do the simple things better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very much like, have you seen Remember the Titans?
Yes,
Yes.
of course.
Okay. So a little pop culture reference here. The point where they are about to travel to preseason camp,
Mm-hmm.
and Coach Boone hands over the playbook,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very thin, and he said split veer. It's like Novocaine, just give it time, it works.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's kind of a story we tell periodically in the office, is that sometimes just being able to do the simple blocking and tackling,
Mm-hmm.
communication,
Fundamentals.
the fundamentals is what's going to get it done. There's a lot of people in our industry that have a lot of great ideas, but there's no substance and resources behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got 4 core areas we look at, and then we've got resources we allocate behind that on every client, whether it's small or large. But every client is going to get a unique plan or blueprint, as we call it, to do that.
So how does one learn more about what's available through the Hausmann Group?
Well, give me a call. No, I think, well, our website is
It's very simple. My house.
myhouse.com, MYHAUS.
Yep.
But I think as we are trying to get out in the community, try to build our brand here in Clinton and the surrounding area, we're trying to get involved and serve the area too. So hopefully, you see me around, and, most people, when they hear insurance, they run the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Come up and introduce yourself.
Yeah. No, Luke, you've been a great supporter of Grow Clinton. You come to a lot of our events. We're always looking forward to seeing your smiling face in support of our efforts. And even though, people around the area may not be completely familiar with the Hausmann Group yet, you're doing a phenomenal job getting the word out there.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that I aspire to, is just making sure that our industry continues to raise the bar. And helping people, because we're not a fit for everyone. Let's be candid.
Mm-hmm.
There are other people out there, other competitors that are good too. So I want to make sure that we're holding each other accountable, our industry as well.
Yeah. We're living in a very weird time,
Mm-hmm.
and I even know I am often ignorant to how a lot of the insurance works, because I have the VA. And I take full advantage of that, and I'm lucky to have that service. But I will say that the last 100 and some days have been a little weird with the VA, because I understand the move towards government efficiency, and the VA probably way too many cooks in the kitchen. They need to thin back a little bit. But one of the things that really sucks is, like, I just found out one of my providers that I meet with virtually on a weekly basis is leaving. And that sucks, because it's been a good, great relationship I've had with him. And especially when you meet somebody that you connect with as a patient and as a provider, you want to retain that relationship moving forward. And unfortunately, he's stepping out, and some of the nursing staff have seen the writing on the wall, so they're jumping ship as well. And so it's kind of scary, because the days of having, I mean, Jen, you probably recall just here in Clinton, I mean, you had like legacy doctors that were here and maybe was there at your labor and then took care of you from child to adulthood, and you could depend on that.
Same guy who delivered my mother delivered me.
Yeah. But that's not what we're seeing anymore.
No.
A lot of these docs now are just jumping around, and you have a lot of nurse practitioners in the mix. My wife being one of them, she has her DNP, doctorate in nursing practice. So she's working here at Mercy One in the pediatric clinic, and she does a phenomenal job. You're just seeing a different mix now, and the sustainability of being able to retain an MD or a nurse practitioner for that long of a duration is becoming more and more difficult.
That, and I think a lot, the exposure we have to social media and the internet, telling people different things. Like, my mom went to the doctor for a checkup. She's as healthy as you can be. And she said, the doctor wanted me to do some tests, and I told him to stop upselling me. And I got a big kick out of that. But I mean, this is what we're exposed to now. So people are trying to do their best, but what information are you getting? You may as well leave it to the professionals to tell you, but also advocate for yourself,
Right.
Exactly.
you know, and it's a hard mix. It's a hard mix to get into.
It is a hard mix, and developing that relationship with your insurance
Right.
provider to be able to call somebody and say, hey, this is what I'm being told I need to do. I got this referral. Is this something that like I need to do, or is this just an upsell?
Right. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you used a great word, advocate.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have to advocate for ourselves, whether we're talking to an insurance carrier or a medical provider, not because they're intrinsically evil or bad, but it's because we don't often ask questions.
Got to ask them.
You got to ask questions. And by doing that, we learn all kinds of stuff. And, you know, I might not have taken the same approach as your mom, but
Right. No, don't do that. Yeah.
but she was advocating for herself.
Right. True.
And, you know, if you're not getting what you want, or you're getting too much, that's,
Yeah.
you know, doctors.
So when the one thing I like is that if you are representing a client, they get a hold of you and then they get that advice from you. Cause I think a lot of people are really intimidated by insurance companies and seeing as big juggernauts. You're not going to talk to anybody, you know, and it's great to be able to get a hold of.
Have you ever called an insurance company,
Yes.
the number on the back of your insurance card?
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
I go to the VA, so
I have.
but it is a difficult process. I can only imagine.
And what kind of experience did you have?
I think I ended up crying,
Yeah.
and I never cry.
Yeah.
Statistically, I believe insurance companies have a worse score or customer service than even airlines
Ooh.
do. On that.
Oof.
So, yeah, if I would highly encourage whoever your employer works with to have a partner that they can call and that they can advocate for you and navigate the system.
And that's you. That's
Yes,
you for your.
That is absolutely us. At Hausmann, one of the things we have is a group called House Key. And the thing that they focus primarily on is the thousands of calls we get from our clients. So they can call me, but they can also call a team of people where they know how to navigate those systems.
Yes.
Yeah, it's different. I was actually just talking to a veteran that he's the grandfather of one of my son's teammates for baseball, and we were talking about the VA, and really the VA has made this aggressive shift over the last 3 to 5 years of going completely digital as far as like applications for services and things of that nature. So now when you log in, you got to use what's called ID.me. It's where you upload your DD-214, all your credentials, everything's saved. It's a single login for My Healthy Vet, VA.gov. For me, it's awesome.
Yes.
But for a different generation, it's terrifying.
They need a person.
And and it's getting more and more difficult to just call and talk to somebody.
Right.
And that was one of the benefits for the VA for a very long time, was really the personal care with your provider and that provider staff. And now it's taking a shift where things are getting somewhat automated.
Yeah.
And I don't mind it because I don't have a problem navigating that, but I can only imagine if my grandparents, both my grandfathers were in the military, if they were still alive, how they would deal with something like that, having to put in a security code and they're going to text you something. And, that doesn't fly with some people. I
mentioned that my dad was an insurance agent and that was back in the days where you had to go out after dinner and do your debits where, get the policy, sit and talk to the people and everything. I can't tell you how many times I met people who were older generation who just told me how grateful they were that he spent time with them. And I'm sure that you have that experience too.
I hope so.
Well, yeah, because that's like Andy said, for certain people, even any generation, if you don't understand technology, if it's not working for you, you're frustrated. The best step you can take is to talk to a person. And so you've got to feel good about that.
Absolutely.
So you've been doing this for 20 years. What is your favorite part of the job?
Get to do stuff like this. Every day is new.
Yeah.
And so, it's ever evolving. There's lots of legislative changes and that can be a pain in the butt in the moment, but you study it, you learn from it, and you communicate about it. But I think the other thing is just being able to talk to the employees of our groups and being able to do educational meetings. Not everybody is excited when we get there, but inevitably.
Buckle yourselves in, folks. Today we're talking about health insurance.
But they have the questions, don't they?
Absolutely.
Yes.
They're inevitably, if 1 out of 10 people is going to come up and ask that. Well, what if this, or I've had this, and they really legitimately need assistance,
Right.
and they didn't know that they could look on the back of an ID card, or they didn't know what they didn't know,
Mhm.
and that may be one of the most rewarding things.
And that
Yeah.
to have be somebody who's so approachable, because sometimes people just not ask because they're too embarrassed.
Totally.
Right?
It's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard.
Well, it wasn't too long ago where if you had a pre-existing condition, you just weren't going to have insurance, right?
Yeah.
Depending on the severity of the
Right.
condition. And I think during President Obama's term and the introduction of Obamacare,
Mhm.
that is now illegal. You cannot deny somebody insurance because of pre-existing conditions. Is that accurate?
That is 100% accurate.
Yeah.
So
I got turned down once because I have high blood pressure many
Yeah.
years ago, and no.
But
Was
now
a-
that you work for Andy, everything is
Oh,
calmed down
it's
now.
just it's
now
like
I have the high blood pressure.
vacation. We let him handle the
Yeah,
problems.
that's right. Oh yeah. No, things are ever evolving, and we want to thank you so much again for your
Thank you.
contribution and investment to Grow Clinton. I know you have options out there, and we appreciate your dedication to our community. If there's anything that we can do to further promote the Hausmann Group and yourself, Luke Duenser, within our community, happy to do so.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for being on the show. Jenny,
Yes.
what do you got going on the rest of the week?
Oh my gosh, I got a lot going on. I'm going to be visiting with people at Atlas. a couple of
Atlas
days.
Roofing Corporation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And right now, today, I'm working on thanking our members who have renewed their membership. I'm doing my handwritten.
You do
notes.
that so well.
Thank
and
you.
you don't realize how proud I am of you for doing
Aw.
that, because my handwriting, it's not as bad as Matt Parb's from our office.
Matt Parks.
He writes like a 3-year-old. I don't know how
It's
but
approved.
he signs stuff and like gives it to me, and I'm like, I don't even know what this is, dude. Is this like hieroglyphics? Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is. That a letter? I didn't know that
Yeah.
existed in the alphabet. What is that?
I don't know.
No, we joke. We love Matt, but his handwriting is
He's
atrocious.
got to work on it.
But my handwriting's not great either. So the fact that you do that, and it's just so eloquent, like when you get a thank you note, you want to see somebody with good penmanship writing that thank you note. I mean, I sit there like a caveman, like, thank you. It's not good. So I'm glad that you do that. And that little extra
thanks.
touch is something that I'm very proud of for this
Thank
organization.
you.
We always go above and beyond to thank our members for their investment, because our reality, and it's designed that way, is we don't exist without our investors.
Exactly.
So nearly 500 investors support the Grow Clinton mission for many reasons, to promote their own companies, businesses, services. But then there's a huge chunk that just invest in us because they enjoy our mission and they want to see the
Right.
community succeed. So we appreciate everybody at all levels. So continue writing those letters.
I will. They're how we do it and why we do it.
And you're also working on a membership survey.
I am.
correct?
I'm almost done with that. So I can't wait to see what's
Yeah.
going to come out of that.
One of the things that we do well here at Grow Clinton is steal, borrow, mimic, emulate. So in the morning when I go out for a walk with my dog, I listen to the Harvard Business Review podcast on leadership. And the beginning and the end of the podcast, they always say, thank you so much for supporting the Harvard Business Review podcast on leadership, but we want to make it better, but we need your feedback. And then they have a link to just hbr.com/survey. So that's what we're going to do, is introduce something, house it on our website. A lot of times you'll see organizations like ours do this massive blitz to try to collect all this feedback at one time. But I figure we're just going to do it throughout the entire duration of the year.
Right.
We'll use our podcast as a way to promote it. And those that feel like we're doing a good job, they can go in there and say something nice. Those that feel like there's areas for improvement, they can go in there and include that as well.
Always looking for
And
that.
we'll always learn.
Mhm.
Yeah. You know, we're always willing to accept constructive criticism, because we know that we're not perfect, and nor do we want to be, because once you stop moving, you're dead.
Right.
So we're always trying to get better. My
our
grandfather
sparkle.
used to say that.
Yeah.
My grandfather used to get up, my mom's dad, he would get up in the morning and he would go out on his porch and he would do jumping jacks and just get his
gosh.
body moving.
Yeah. Get the
you
blood
know?
going.
And he used to always say, once you stop moving, you're dead.
Right.
And it's so true. I mean, you say it like,
Mhm.
you know, it sounds like it's a kind of abrasive and like, ooh, that's crazy. But the reality is, as you get older, if you stop and you become sedentary and you just sit there in your Barca lounger and watch the TV, you're in a quick grave. But
Right.
if you keep moving, you get out there, you get involved. Longevity, my friend.
There you go.
All right. We want to, speaking of longevity, we want to thank Miles Communications for high-speed fiber internet. Again, void of their services, we would not be able to bring you this amazing podcast. So thank you to Miles Communications, milestelephone.com. My name is Andy Sokolovich. Until we speak again, stay classy, folks. Thank you for listening to the Grow Clinton podcast. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on all your socials. Until next time, see ya. All right, we're not done yet. Still live, still live. I'm gonna export this bad boy. All the behind the scenes.
You guys are,
What's that?
you guys are good.
Oh, thanks.